This is the stomach in the correct anatomical position. It starts from the cardiac end to the pyloric end. There are two ends, the upper end and the lower end. There are two surfaces, anterior surface and the posterior surface. There are two curvatures, the lesser curvature and the greater curvature. Now, the stomach is divided into four parts. This is the cardiac part into which the esophagus directly opens. There is a horizontal line demarcating the upper fundic portion to the main body portion. This is the pyloric part, which starts from this external marking known as the incisura angularis. The pylorus has three parts: pyloric antrum, pyloric canal, and the main pylorus. Now there are two sphincters. This is the cardiac sphincter, which is not a true anatomical sphincter, it is only a physiological sphincter. This is the lower pyloric sphincter. It is a true anatomical sphincter which is formed by the thickening of the circular layer of muscles in the smooth muscles. These are the two curvatures. This is the lesser curvature. From here we have the attachment of the lesser omentum. This is the greater curvature. Here we have the attachment of the greater omentum. In the lesser omentum we have two ligaments. The first one is the hepatogastric ligament and the second is the hepatoduodenal ligament. In the greater curvature we again have two ligaments. The first is the gastrophrenic ligament and gastrosplenic ligament. For the arterial blood supply of the stomach, the lesser curvature is drained by the left gastric artery and the right gastric artery. The greater curvature is drained by small gastric branches and the left gastroepiploic artery. Both are branches of the splenic artery. And the lower part of the greater curvature is drained by the right gastroepiploic artery, which is a branch from the gastroduodenal artery. The venous drainage is by the left and the right gastric veins, and the greater curvature is drained by the short gastric veins, left gastroepiploic vein and the right gastroepiploic vein. For the lymphatic drainage, we divide the stomach into two parts. The first part is the medial 2/3 and the lateral 1/3. The medial 2/3 is again divided into superior 2/3 and the inferior 1/3, and the lateral 1/3 is divided into the superior 1/3 and the inferior 2/3. The upper part of the lesser curvature is drained by the left gastric lymph nodes. The lower part is drained by the right gastric lymph nodes and the hepatic lymph nodes. The greater curvature on the upper side is drained by the pancreaticosplenic nodes. Here it is drained by the left gastroepiploic lymph nodes. Right.
Right.
It is drained by the right gastroepiploic lymph nodes and the pyloric lymph nodes. All of them finally drain into the celiac lymph nodes. Now we will study the interior of the stomach. The interior of the stomach has three prominences. The first one is the irregular folds present in the mucosa of the stomach. These are known as gastric rugae or the gastric folds. In between these rugae we have gastric pits into which there are openings of the gastric glands. In the central part we have a very prominent gastric rugae. This is known as the gastric canal, which corresponds to the external lesser curvature. And because everything that we eat or drink directly reaches to this part, and also because यहाँ पे there is more secretion of the pepsin and HCl, that is why this region is more prone to gastric ulcers, and this side is more prone to gastric cancer. This is the spleen, held in the correct anatomical position in such a way that the upper border should coincide with the 9th rib, the lower finger should correspond with the 11th rib, and the middle finger should correspond with the longitudinal axis of the spleen as well as the 10th rib. The spleen has two ends, the anterior end, which is broad, and the posterior end, which is pointed. The spleen has three borders: the superior border, the intermediate border and the inferior border. The prominent feature of the superior border is that we can see certain notches. These notches tell about the lobular development of the spleen during embryological life. The spleen has two surfaces. This is the diaphragmatic surface, which is in close relation to the diaphragm. All of this is the visceral surface, in which we have the impression of various abdominal organs. Between the superior border and the intermediate border, we have the gastric impression. Between the intermediate and the inferior border, we have the impression of the kidney, known as the renal impression. Between the anterior end and the hilum, we have the colic impression. This is the hilum, into which we can see the insertion of the tail of the pancreas. Also, we have the tortuous splenic artery. This is the tortuous splenic artery, and we can see a very thin collapsible splenic vein. Care must be taken while splenectomy so that the tail of the pancreas is not cut, which might lead to iatrogenic diabetes. Now, coming to the peritoneal relations of the spleen, we have three ligaments. The first and the most important is the phrenico-colic ligament, which connects the diaphragm to the left colic flexure. This ligament is important as it, what was that word? Yes, as it limits the diaphragmatic surface of the spleen, so that spleen always enlarges on the medial side. Okay? Spleen will never enlarge on this lateral side. There are two more ligaments, that is the gastrosplenic ligament and the lenorenal ligament. This is the C-shaped duodenum, which starts from the pyloric end of the stomach up to the duodenojejunal flexure. There are four parts of duodenum. The first part, which is approximately 5 centimeters. The second C-shaped part, which is approximately 7.5 centimeters. The third part is the horizontal part, which is 10 centimeters. And the fourth part is actually the duodenojejunal flexure, which is only 2.5 centimeters. The entire duodenum is retroperitoneal except the first part. Okay. On क्या था? Coming to the interior of the duodenum, these are the semicircular irregular folds present in the mucosa of the duodenum. These are called walls of Kerckering. There are two openings. The superior one is the minor duodenal papilla, and the lower one, prominent one, is the major duodenal papilla. In the minor duodenal papilla, we have the opening of the accessory pancreatic duct, which may or may not be present. In the major duodenal papilla, we have the opening of the common bile duct and the pancreatic duct, known as the common hepatopancreatic duct. Now, one of the prominent folds of this walls of Kerckering is the arch of plica semilunaris, which is present superiorly to the major duodenal papilla. The second modification of the walls of Kerckering is the plica longitudinalis, which is present in the inferior side of the major duodenal papilla. This is the pancreas, which extends from the second part of duodenum, the concavity of the second part of duodenum, up to the hilum of the spleen. The pancreas has four parts: the head part, the neck part, this is the elongated body part, and towards the hilum we have the tail of the pancreas, which has the most number of islets of Langerhans, endocrine cells. Also, we have a fifth part known as the uncinate process of the pancreas, which is not visible here. Now we will see the formation of the portal vein system. This is the portal vein, which is formed by the mergence of the splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein behind the neck of the pancreas. This is the inferior mesenteric vein, which opens into the splenic vein, and this is the tortuous splenic artery, which goes to the hilum of the spleen.